Be me 28 years old, my name is Leo. Work a remote IT job, decent pay, mind-numbingly boring. Recently bought a duplex, my first property. Live in the downstairs apartment, rent out the upstairs. It's an old place, needs work, but it's mine. Feel like a real adult for the first time in my life. Mostly just means I spend my weekends fixing leaky faucets instead of getting wasted. Honestly, it's an improvement. My upstairs tenant is a female named Alara. She's maybe my age, maybe a little younger, moved in about 3 months ago, and she despises my entire existence. I am not exaggerating. The first time I met her, I was carrying her signed lease agreement. I smiled, said, "Welcome to the building, Alara. I'm Leo, your new landlord and neighbor." She looked at me like I was a cockroach wearing a tiny tuxedo. Just a cold, flat stare. She snatched the papers from my hand, said, "I know," and slammed the door in my face. Okay then, I tried a few more times. Morning, I'd say if we passed on the stairs, she'd give me this tight, forced nod and practically sprint away. I held the main door open for her once when she was carrying groceries. She stopped, waited for me to go inside, and then opened the door for herself. It was so awkward I think my soul left my body for a few seconds. I gave up after that, decided to just be a ghost landlord, cash her rent checks and pretend she doesn't exist. I get the distinct impression she hates men, like all of them. Sometimes I can hear her on the phone through the floorboards. It's always the same muffled, angry tone, and I'll catch snippets. Typical male behavior. They're all literal children. Weaponized incompetence is a real thing, Jessica. Her friends seem to be on the same wavelength. They come over on Friday nights, I can hear them laughing, but it's not a happy sound. It's this sharp, cynical laughter, usually followed by more angry talk about some guy named Chad or Brad or Todd. It's always a single-syllable name. I don't really care, live and let live. Her misandry doesn't affect my life, other than making my hallways feel like a demilitarized zone. As long as the apartment doesn't burn down, she can hate whoever she wants. The only other living creature up there is her cat, a big, fluffy ginger thing I see sunning himself in her window. In my head, I call him Cheeto. He looks like a Cheeto. He seems like a pretty chill dude for a cat. Sometimes I'll be out back in the yard and he'll just be watching me from the window, totally unfazed. He is the only male entity she seems to tolerate. So fast forward to a Saturday afternoon. It's early autumn, one of those perfect, crisp days. I'm finally tackling the basement. The previous owner was a hoarder of rusty tools and jars of unidentifiable pickled things. It's a disaster zone. I'm wearing my worst clothes, covered in dust and probably asbestos. I've got the old cellar door propped open to the backyard to get some air flowing. It's one of those slanted Bilko-style doors. I'm listening to a podcast, sorting through boxes in my own little world. Suddenly, a blur of orange lightning. A furry missile shoots past my head and dives into the darkest corner of the basement. It's Cheeto. He must have gotten out of her apartment, been spooked by a car backfiring or something, and seen my open door as a safe haven. It was the opposite of a safe haven. He has just entered the spider-infested tetanus trap I call my basement. Before I can even process what happened, he's gone. Vanished behind a mountain of junk, an ancient water heater, 3 flat tires, and a stack of what looks like soggy encyclopedias from the 1970s. Well, damn, a few seconds later I hear a new sound. Panic, frantic footsteps on the floor above me, then a voice high and strained with fear. "Jasper, Jasper, oh my God, where are you?" So his name is Jasper, not Cheeto. Good to know. The footsteps thunder down the internal staircase that connects our apartments through a shared hallway. Then, frantic, hammering fists on my front door. Bang, bang, bang. "Open up, I know you're in there." "What did you do?" Her voice is shaking, a mix of pure terror and white-hot rage. I sigh, wipe my dusty hands on my jeans, and head upstairs. This is going to be fun. I open the door. She's standing there looking like a wreck. Her face is pale, eyes red and puffy, tear tracks on her cheeks. She's wearing pajamas with little avocados on them, her hair is a mess. The second she sees me, her fear hardens into pure accusation. "Where is he?" she demands, her voice trembling. "Did you do something to my cat? Did you let him out?" I hold up my hands in a placating gesture. "Whoa, slow down. I didn't do anything. Don't lie to me," she's practically screaming now. "He's gone. He never goes outside." "He's not gone," I say, trying to keep my voice calm. "He's in my basement." Her face cycles through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, suspicion, disbelief, fear, and then back to suspicion, but this time it's darker. "What do you mean he's in your basement? Why is he in your basement? Did you lure him in there?" Oh my God, she actually thinks I'm some kind of catnapper. "The cellar door was open," I explain slowly as if to a child. "He got scared by something outside and ran in. He's hiding behind a bunch of junk." She just stares at me, her jaw clenched. She doesn't believe a word I'm saying. I can see it in her eyes. She's running through every horror movie scenario she's ever seen. "I want to see," she says, her voice low and dangerous. "Be my guest," I say, stepping aside. "Watch your step, it's a mess down there." She pushes past me, phone clutched in her hand like she's about to call the police or use it as a blunt weapon. I follow her down the rickety wooden stairs into the belly of the beast. The basement is even worse when you're seeing it through someone else's eyes. It's dimly lit by a single bare bulb hanging from a wire. Long, creepy shadows stretch from piles of my junk. Old computer towers, tangled cables, power tools, bags of concrete mix. To her, it must look like the set of a Saw movie. Her posture is rigid. She's scanning every corner, every dark recess, as if expecting to find a cat-sized torture chamber. "Jasper," she calls out, her voice suddenly small and wobbly. "Kitty cat, it's mommy." "Where are you, baby?" A faint, pathetic meow answers from the far corner. Meow, it's a squeak of pure terror. Alara rushes towards the sound and I follow. We find the spot where he disappeared. It's even worse than I thought. He's wedged himself in a tiny gap between the ancient, rust-covered water heater and the crumbling stone foundation of the house. We can just barely see the tip of his tail. "Oh my God, Jasper," she whispers, dropping to her knees on the dusty concrete floor. "Can you get out? Come on, baby, come to mommy." Another pitiful meow is her only answer. She tries to reach for him, but the space is too tight. She can't even get her arm in. She looks at the pile of junk blocking the way. "We have to move this stuff," she says, her voice now clipped and businesslike. "For the next hour, we become an unwilling team. I move the heavy things. The old tires, a rotted wooden workbench, a box of tile adhesive that must weigh 100 pounds. She directs me with sharp, impatient gestures, scrambling to move smaller boxes and bags out of the way. She never says please or thank you. It's all move that and no over there and hurry up, he's scared. I bite my tongue and just do it. The woman is in distress, her fur baby is trapped. I can be the bigger person here. We clear a path, but it doesn't matter. The space he's in is just fundamentally inaccessible. He's completely and utterly stuck. Alara's composure begins to crumble again. She's sitting on the floor, her back against the cold stone wall, just staring at the water heater. Tears are silently streaming down her face. "This is all my fault," she whispers to herself. "I should have never left the window open." I'm just standing there awkwardly, covered in grime, not knowing what to say. All my instincts are telling me to offer some kind of comfort, but I know she'd probably bite my head off if I tried. So I switch to problem-solving mode, IT guy brain activate. "We could try to lure him out," I suggest. She glares at me. "With what? He's terrified, he won't move. Does he have a favorite food?" "Treats or something?" She hesitates, as if she's angry at herself for not thinking of it first. "Tuna," she says, her voice barely audible. "He loves tuna in oil, the expensive kind." "Okay," I say. "I'll go get some." I start heading for the stairs. "Wait," she says, her voice sharp with suspicion again. "Where are you going?" "To the grocery store. It's a 5-minute walk." She looks at me, completely baffled. "Why would you do that?" I shrug. "What am I supposed to say? Because your cat is trapped in my basement, I say matter-of-factly. And I'd like him to not be, and you're clearly upset. Seems like the logical next step. This simple, direct answer seems to short-circuit her brain. She can't find the sinister, ulterior motive in it. She fumbles in the pocket of her pajama pants and pulls out a crumpled $20 bill. Here, she says, holding it out to me. I shake my head. Don't worry about it. It's a can of tuna. I think I can handle the expense. I don't wait for a reply. I just turn and walk up the stairs, leaving her alone in my creepy dungeon of a basement. The walk to the store is a welcome break. The fresh air feels amazing after the musty basement. I find the Bougie Cat food aisle and locate the specific brand of fancy tuna she mentioned. I grab a couple of cans just in case. On my way to the checkout, I pass the drink aisle. I realize she's been down there for over an hour, crying and panicking. She probably hasn't had anything to eat or drink all day. On a whim, I grab a bottle of water and a couple of granola bars. I pay for everything and walk back. When I get to my apartment, the door is still ajar. I can hear her voice drifting up from the basement. It's a different voice than I've ever heard from her. It's soft and sweet and full of love. "It's okay, my sweet boy," she's cooing. "Mommy's here. I'm not going to leave you. You're being so brave." Such a brave little lion. For a second, I feel like I'm intruding on a private moment. I stand there in the hallway listening, and I realize I'm not just dealing with a tenant who hates men. I'm dealing with a person who is deeply, profoundly lonely, and this little cat is her entire world. I clear my throat loudly before I start down the stairs to announce my presence. She snaps her head around, her eyes wide like a cornered animal. The hard mask is back in place. I walk over and hand her the bag. "Got the tuna," I say. Then I hold out the water and a granola bar. "Figured you might be hungry." I don't make a big deal out of it, just offer them to her. She stares at the items in my hand for a long moment. Her expression is unreadable. Then she slowly reaches out and takes them. "Thank you," she mumbles, so quietly I can barely hear it. It's the first time she's ever said those words to me. It feels like a tectonic shift in the universe. We open a can of the stinky tuna and place it on a piece of cardboard near the opening where Jasper is hiding. And then we wait. We sit on the cold concrete floor, a few feet apart in almost total silence. The only sounds are the hum of the ancient furnace and the occasional, hopeful sniff from the darkness. The silence stretches on, becoming more and more awkward. I'm trying to think of something, anything, to say that won't make her angry. I decide to stick to the safest possible topic. "So, Jasper," I say. "Is that from Treasure Planet?" She looks over at me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "What? The movie, Treasure Planet? The main character's cat-like sidekick is named Morph, but the hero, Jim Hawkins, is based on a character from the book, Treasure Island. Wait, no, that's not right. I'm mixing things up." I trail off feeling like an idiot. A tiny smile touches her lips. It's the first time I've ever seen her smile. It completely changes her face. "No," she says, her voice soft. "He's named after the stone, Jasper. It's supposed to be a nurturing stone, providing support during times of stress." She looks over at the water heater. "Guess it's not working so well right now. How long have you had him?" I ask, trying to keep the conversation going. She seems to debate with herself for a moment whether or not to answer. Then she lets out a long, weary sigh and the story just spills out of her. "I got him about 2 years ago," she says, staring at the floor. "Right after I broke up with my ex-boyfriend. Ah, here we go. It was a bad relationship," she continues, her voice getting quiet again. "He wasn't physically abusive, nothing like that. It was all mental. He was a master of making me feel stupid. Every idea I had was dumb, every accomplishment was just luck. He'd pick apart my clothes, my friends, the way I laughed. He convinced me that I was this broken, unlovable person and that I was lucky to have him." She hugs her knees to her chest. "When I finally got the courage to leave, I felt completely hollowed out. I had no confidence, no sense of self. I was terrified of everyone, especially men, Every guy I saw, I just saw him, his condescending smile, his judgmental eyes. I just listen, I don't interrupt. I don't say not all men, I just sit there on the dirty floor and let her talk. My friends were great, but they kind of reinforced it. They were all single too, all had their own horror stories. Our get-togethers turned into these man-hating echo chambers. It was validating at first, to have my anger feel justified, but then it just became my whole identity. This angry, bitter person who hated half the population. I was so lonely, she says, her voice cracking. I work from home, I stopped going out, it was just me and my apartment, so I went to a shelter just to look. And there was this tiny, scrawny little ginger kitten huddled in the back of a cage, scared of everything. The shelter said he'd been found in a dumpster, and I saw myself in him. She looks at me, her eyes filled with a raw, painful honesty. He saved me, Leo. I know it sounds stupid and cliché, but he did. He was the only male I could trust. He didn't judge me, he didn't try to manipulate me. He just wanted to be warm and fed and loved. Taking care of him, it gave me a purpose again. It taught me how to trust something again. She finally stops, looking embarrassed, like she's revealed too much of herself. Sorry, she says. You didn't need to hear all that. No, I get it, I say, and I do. I decide to share something of my own to balance the scales. I bought this place after my fiancé and I broke up, I tell her. We'd been together for 6 years. We were planning a wedding. And then one day she just decided she wasn't in love with me anymore, packed her bags and moved out while I was at work. I look around the messy basement. I was a wreck. Felt like my whole future had just been erased, so I bought this duplex, poured all my energy and money into it, figured if I could build something, fix something, maybe I could fix myself too. We sit in silence again, but this time it's different. It's not awkward, it's comfortable. It's the silence of two people who have just seen a part of each other's soul. And then a small, furry head peeks out from behind the water heater. Jasper. Lured out by the smell of tuna and the sound of our calm, quiet voices. His big green eyes are wide with apprehension. He looks at Alara, then at me. He takes a tentative step forward, then another. Alara doesn't move a muscle. She barely seems to be breathing. Come on, baby, she whispers. Jasper slowly, cautiously pads his way over to the can of tuna. He sniffs it, then starts eating, gobbling it down like he hasn't seen food in a decade. When he's finished, he looks up at Alara and lets out a soft MRRO. She slowly reaches out her hand. He flinches for a second, then leans into her touch, purring like a tiny motorboat. She scoops him up into her arms and buries her face in his fur, holding him like he's the most precious thing in the world. This time, when she cries, they're tears of pure, unadulterated relief. We walk up the stairs from the basement, back into the light. It feels like emerging from a different world. Alara is still clutching Jasper, who is now purring contentedly, a little smear of tuna on his whiskers. She stops at my apartment door. Leo, she says, and for the first time she looks me directly in the eye. Her eyes are a really pretty shade of green, I notice. I am so sorry, she says, and the sincerity in her voice is overwhelming. For everything, for how I've been acting for the past 3 months, for today, I was wrong. I made a judgment about you without knowing anything about you, and that was unfair. You've been nothing but kind and patient, and I've been a complete monster. You weren't a monster, I say. You were scared, I get it. She gives me a small, watery smile. Thank you, she says, for everything, for the tuna. For getting my cat back. Any time, I say, but maybe try to keep him out of my asbestos pit from now on. She laughs, a real genuine laugh, it's a nice sound. Deal, she says, and heads up the stairs to her own apartment. The next morning, I open my door to get the mail. Sitting on my doormat is a 6-pack of a nice local IPA and a small envelope. Inside the envelope is a thank you card. On the front is a cartoon picture of a grumpy cat. Inside, she wrote, Leo, I can't thank you enough for yesterday. I promise to be a better neighbor from now on. And I'm sorry for thinking you were a cat-luring serial killer. Ilara, and underneath her signature, there's a little black ink stamp of a paw print. P.S. Jasper says thank you for the tuna and for not being a serial killer. I stand in my hallway holding the card and I just start smiling like an idiot. Things changed after that day. The ice wasn't just broken, it was melted, evaporated, and launched into the sun. We started saying hello in the hallways, real hellos with eye contact and smiles. One day I saw her struggling with a huge, flat-packed box from IKEA. I offered to help her carry it upstairs. She accepted without hesitation. We spent the next 3 hours deciphering Swedish pictograms and assembling a bookshelf, drinking the beers she'd bought me. We talked about our jobs, about our families, about stupid movies we liked. It was normal, it was nice. A week later, she knocked on my door. "I feel like I owe you a Saturday," she said. "Can I buy you a pizza?" As an apology for the great basement hostage crisis of last weekend. I agreed. We ordered a large pepperoni and sat on the floor of my living room because I still hadn't gotten around to buying a proper dining table. She told me about her job as a graphic designer. I told her about the time I accidentally deleted a whole server for a client and had to work for 36 hours straight to restore it from backups. We discovered we had the same favorite author and argued about which of his books was the best. Jasper sat on the rug between us, occasionally reaching out a paw to try and steal a piece of pepperoni. At the end of the night, as she was leaving, she paused at the door. "You know," she said, "it's kind of nice having a neighbor." "Yeah," I said, "it is. It's been about 6 months since the Great Basement incident. Alara and I are friends. Like real friends, we'll marathon bad horror movies, we'll cook dinner together sometimes, we'll complain about work. Her Friday night friend gatherings are different now. Less angry, more happy. I even met them once. They're not man-haters. They were just trying to support their friend the only way they knew how. They're actually pretty cool. I don't know if it's ever going to be anything more than friendship between us, and honestly, I don't really care. I wasn't looking for a girlfriend. I was just a guy in a house feeling a little bit lonely. And she was just a girl in a house feeling a little bit lonely too. All it took was one scared cat, one open door, and a can of overpriced tuna to bring our two little worlds together. It's funny how life works. You can build walls around yourself so high you think no one will ever get in. But sometimes, all it takes is a little bit of kindness to find the door, and a fluffy ginger cat to run right through it.